Well, thank you all for being here today. So one of the features of the Wilmington BizExpo that we've had for the past 5 years is we feature the winner of the MADE Awards. Normally they're spread out in the expo hall of the convention center so everybody can see some of the products that are produced here or conceived of here. So unfortunately, we're not all able to be together and see everything that is produced here. But we wanted to host a session about this now, so at least we can have a discussion with a few of the winners and learn a little more about what is being produced here. So first, I'd like to introduce Rick Dicente from Excite Credit Union. Excite is the sponsor of the MADE Awards and is responsible for us being able to bring this to you each year. So I just wanted to let Rick kick us off with introduction about Excite.
Thank you, Rob. Hi, everyone. I'm Rick Dicente, Excite Credit Union's Vice President of Member Experience. And I'm also joined today by our Director of Community Relations, Andra Romeo. First of all, we'd love to congratulate all the MADE Award winners today. And Excite is honored to sponsor the MADE Awards once again. Really, the reason we really enjoy sponsoring this award, because as you know, it's about local, it's about community, and that's important to us at Excite. We want to thank you for all your hard work and the local investment you've made to our community. And before I pass it back to Rob, if you haven't already, please make sure you visit Excite's virtual booth here at the Expo. Kendra is there to answer any questions you have or just to introduce yourself to us, because we're really excited to announce the recent launch of our new business services accounts that we're bringing to the Wilmington market, and also all of the partnerships that we can help local businesses with. So again, thank you, congratulations. We look forward to this roundtable. And Rob, I'm gonna turn it back to you.
All right, thanks. Thank you, Rick, and thanks for your support of this program. So I want to first go around and have, we got a couple of our winners with us now, and I know one other's supposed to be here as well, and just have you tell us a little bit about your product offerings and a little bit about your history of your organization in the Wilmington area. So I will have Steve Jans with Flow Sciences kick us off.
Thank you, Rob. I am also very excited to be here, and I want to thank the Wilmington Business Journal for allowing our company to have a focus. We've been highlighted by the Wilmington Business Journal. Ray Ryan, our CEO, won one of the entrepreneurship awards several years ago. A few years back, we also had a award, another MADE award. This year's MADE award focuses on export. My role in Flow Sciences is in international sales and business development. So an interesting challenge this year where I'm not on the plane, but I'm happy to discuss what our company does, because we are continuing to be what's called an essential industry. And what Flow Sciences is, it's the science of airflow. So we use a lot of engineering talent. We're located right here off of 7476 behind Victaulic in the Leland Industrial Park. We have about 70 employees. So we are very focused on working with our local resources. We have partnerships with Brunswick County Community College, UNCW, Cape Fear Community College. And so, of course, our most important asset are our employees and the supply chain and all of those people that feed into our engineering expertise on producing fume hoods and powder hoods. And the fume hoods and powder hoods, in this case, are used for research by companies like Alchemy right down the road, and companies like PPD at their research facilities, not only here, but in Wisconsin at their laboratories. So we sell equipment into the laboratory research market. This year, we've been able to not only continue our business through the pandemic, but one of the developments recently is we actually have created a specialized hood for COVID-19 fighters. So for those people that are in the clinical laboratory that use robotics to test all the samples, for example, in medical universities and in universities that have to test all of their students every few days, those samples are actually being put on a robot, but the clinicians and the technicians wanted an extra layer of protection, and their robots are now being put inside of our hood. So it is an incredibly busy time here at Flow Sciences. We are excited to be part of the community. We are growing our footprint and growing our employees. And I thank you all again for letting us have a few focus minutes here.
Great, thank you, Steve. So I know we have Ted by audio. I don't think we have him by video, but Ted with American Hammer. Can you introduce yourself and your company? Can you, I think you're muted, Ted.
Okay. So it muted me automatically.
Okay, yeah, you got to mute your computer, but keep
Okay.
your phone unmuted.
All right, sorry about all that.
That's good.
Good thing we make better hammers than Zoom meetings. And all right, let me introduce myself. As you said, I'm Ted Latier. I'm the president and CEO of American Hammer. We were founded in 1952. I purchased the company in 1986. I was 20 years old at the time. I was studying to be an airline pilot. Aviation was my dream, but I ended up making hammers instead. So for the last 34 years, this is what I've been doing. We were based in Illinois. We moved down here in 2013. We did that because, well, Wilmington kind of checked all the boxes for us for weather and politics and just being in a better place as far as the environment goes. So we moved partially down here. We kept our foundry up in Chicago still. It's still there. Slowly we'll move down our foundry operation. But for now, all of our assembly is here. Our shipping is here. We still operate out of 3 locations. We have about 80 employees, which is with our members, partnerships throughout the United States. We are handled by about 100 different distributors. The top 6 would be Granger, MSC, Fastenal, IDG, and the rest. Our hammers, we manufacture over 650 different hammers. They are very specific in their market. Our hammers are used in the nuclear power industry, the military, agriculture, and general industrial customers. We have about 600 customers that we sell direct to, and the rest is all handled through distributors. Our hammers can be found in different countries, like in Chile, used in the copper mines, Saudi Arabia in their oil fields, and mostly here in the United States for oil and gas and so forth. Our hammers, as I said before, are specialized. They're non-sparking, non-marring, non-rebound, and I think what makes us different than any other competitor that we have is that they're all recyclable. So when a customer buys a hammer, after they've used the hammer to the point of uselessness, they will send it back to us, and we will recycle the hammer and then return their hammers to them at a significant discount from their original purchase. So it's an ongoing program. So once you own one of our hammers, after you've used it to the point where it's no longer of value, then you just simply send it back for a replacement. We have trucks that crisscross the United States that pick up hammers at various locations and exchange them on location. Once those hammers are collected in a warehouse in Illinois, they're shipped back here, melted down, refurbished, and shipped back. Let's see what else I can say about what we do. So as I
actually had a quick question. So in terms of, you mentioned some industries you serve, are those the largest industries you serve, or kind of give us a breakdown of the business little more?
Well, so our industry is, as I said, gas, natural gas, fracking, oil reserves as far as getting it out of the ground and then through the pipeline. Now, why would they use hammers? Well, they use them on the equipment that maintains these facilities. They use them on the actual tooling that they work with so they don't damage. See, the hammers are soft in nature. So when they're working on something that is of value, they would rather destroy the hammer than what they're working on. So every metal that we manufacture in, and we start with aluminum, brass, bronze, copper, lead, zinc, and then we get into composites. Our customers will know what material that they need to use in regards to a hammer on the surfaces that they're working on so that they don't damage what they're working on. So again, the industries in military and shipbuilding, gosh, you know, we just shipped hammers to Tesla in California. They use our hammers in the equipment maintenance. Our hammers go to SpaceX. Now, these I name them because they always put a smile on my face when I see hammers going to companies like that. And then, of course, GM, Ford, Chrysler, all the auto industries use our hammers on their assembly lines. So again, so they don't damage the parts that they're working on.
That's great. Well, let's spend a couple minutes about kind of advantages and disadvantages of being a manufacturing operation in our region. You know, we're not exactly known to the outside world as being a hub of manufacturing activity. But I know I've been out to Flow Sciences before, and that's a pretty big operation over in Leland, and I've seen some photos and video of American Hammer and a lot of the activity happening there. So maybe if you could each, you know, talk a little bit about what it's like producing products in our region and what are advantages and disadvantages. Steve, you want to go first?
Okay, well, I think one of the, as the company's been around for 35 years, I've been with the company for 17 years, and we were at the risk of being, you know, too wordy. We started in Wilmington in several different spaces, 6 different small rooms. One of them was, you know, in one of the Quonset huts behind Wilmington Airport. So one of the models that we started with as a manufacturer was essentially having other people make our parts, putting them together, but we always had testing facilities, which is absolutely critical to the types of products that we make because they have to contain and be safe for the operator to use. In other words, if you're working with a drug, an anti-cancer drug, and you're that chemist, the last thing you want to do is breathe it in. And that's what we do at Flow Sciences. We create containment hoods and powder hoods. And being able to move from an operation where we assembled parts that we had made, in some cases overseas, and then brought in, and then ultimately in 1994, moving out here to Leland. And then as the company has grown, relying on a regional supply chain has, of course, increased our quality, you know, dropped down any of the scrap and loss that we might have had by having overseas suppliers, and then growing the talent here, even through, you know, Cape Fear, because they have the Inventor, which is a software package for CAD/CAM. So we've been able to really become a stronger company and a stronger manufacturing by using local resources. The challenges that we have are as we grow into foreign markets, in this case, just keeping the focus on the MADE award for export, which is we've had to rely on air freight and now to a huge point, ocean freight, because ocean is, you know, air freight has become more expensive. Ocean freight has remained about the same, but the number of ships, you know, on the water are at capacity now. So one of the pinch points that we have is really lead times to get our products, which are mostly manufactured here with parts manufactured in the USA, overseas. And then as we grow overseas, certainly to have supply chains grow in overseas is a future development for us. But I would say that the challenge that we've faced here has not been so much getting the supply chain or getting the people developed. It is working with NC Ports and some other folks. We understand what the quickest way of delivery is to our foreign markets, which continue to increase as a percentage of our sales. As you can imagine, Merck or Pfizer and all those other folks, if they're using something we produce in the US, they'd like that same type of product to be available overseas in their same factories, so they can have less variables in their manufacturing process. So as we move more into our export, I would say that the challenges here are going to be continuing to find good talent. We've only rarely had to bring in people from other states for very particular operations. But relative to the supply chain and logistics, I see logistics as being one of our current challenges that we need to focus on to get things to our foreign markets as quick as possible. Thank you.
Ted?
Sure. I'm not going to have as many challenges as Steve seems to have. We've had just employee challenges. Can you hear me fine?
Yeah.
Again. Okay. All right. So when we first came down, I was warned by employees that we were interviewing that we would have a workforce issue as far as reliability. Something was said to me is when the weather was good, plan on your employees not showing up. Fishing was good, plan on them not showing up. Well, we did see a lot of that, and the work ethic here was a little different than what we were experiencing in Chicago area. So, but we adapted. At one time, I made the comment that I felt like I was a prison warden because all my employees were work release from the local jail system. So that changed over time. We now have a crew of, there's 12 here, and they all seem to work fine. Yes, we have issues, tends to be more drug related than anything else, but we work with them. I don't want to be the employer that is hard on them or punishes them or anything like that. We just work with them. So if they're going to miss a day, then they'll make it up on another day. We are 4 days a week, 10 hours a day. All of them enjoy a long weekend. In the beginning here, I used to hold pay until Mondays because that way I would almost ensure they would show up. Now, not so much. So the 12-man workforce here in Wilmington is working out just fine. Most of my employees have been with us now for about 3 to 4 years at the most. I don't see any changes in that coming. You never do know. We've only been here 7 years, so it isn't bad. So besides the employment issue, which I think you'd have really anywhere, it's certainly not just Wilmington. I can't say we really have any other difficulties here. We've been well received. I could not find a building that could house it all, so we're in 2 separate buildings here. I've got a very nice landlord that loves the fact that we're here and we're in his facilities. And his family seems to own an awful lot of properties here in Wilmington. I asked him if we could buy the building, and he told me that, well, we're not in the business of selling, we're in the business of renting. So I understand that. And in the 7 years we've been here, he's never raised our rent, which is nice. But we need to buy a building. We've owned our own facilities in Illinois. I couldn't find anything available here in our zoning. so we ended up renting. But we'd like to branch out and purchase that property in that building in the not too distant future. The move was horrendous, and I don't really look forward to doing it again. But we're really needing to be under one roof. I do fear local government as far as the zonings are concerned. We do need heavy industrial. There's not a lot of that in Wilmington. We are looking at around the port area. The new Raleigh Road extension is of interest. I don't want to be too far away off of, say, 420 in that area. I don't want that. So I think that will be a challenge, but we're fine where we're at. We have no problems with our neighbors. We are in kind of a less than desirable area as far as crime, but we haven't had any. We've never had vandalism or anything stolen from our property, so we're good. But again, down the road, probably in the next 3 to 5 years, I'd like to see us get into a brand new facility that can house everything that we do and things that we are planning for the future. So about 10,000 square foot would be all we really need. So other than that, mail isn't reliable. We're working on that, but UPS and freight and all of that has treated us well. That's all. Thank you.
Very good. Yeah. If anyone listening has any questions, please put them in the chat. And Rick, also, if you have any other questions or comments, I know you work with a lot of other local companies as well. So if you have any other observations that go along with these comments, please feel free to chime in. I did, before we let everybody go, I did want to ask you both a couple questions about how you're dealing with COVID. I mean, you both touched on it a little bit, but what have been the biggest issues, especially as manufacturers that have presented themselves? I know, Steve, you talked already about the shipping and logistics issues, but what else are you all having to deal with special here with the fun we're all having this year?
Well, we have created a virtual showroom. We've showcased that to the U.S. Commercial Service because they, we're kind of as a small business. We've done some very creative things very quickly. One of the things that happens with COVID, so certainly, is that when we do get the products shipped, they do sometimes need some installation support. So we've done a few virtual installations. We certainly have done that both domestically and in foreign markets. We continue to use, you name the platform, whether it's Glaxo requiring WebEx or somebody else requiring Microsoft meetings. We're getting real good at a lot of these meetings. Not that I figure out how to share easily some of the documents, but we've bought some good camera equipment. Some people have really stepped up and learned how to use some of these virtual video platforms, and some of the folks that we're dealing with, other equipment makers, are doing the same thing. So I think everybody is adapting. We use a lot of, because we're in the business of safety, we've had a lot of people from big pharma that usually would visit. Maybe now they're only very infrequently visiting, but we have a protocol for visitation. Some of our folks are going out to different facilities, let's say up in Wilson. They have to follow manufacturers' pandemic rules. So I think the answer is we're adapting, and we see business, we're seeing foreign markets like Spain, Italy, France starting to order again. So even these countries are really under a crisis right now. Their hospitals and their manufacturing of medicine still has to take place. And so everybody is adjusting. I would say over the last month, it's ramping up pretty well. So I think as humans, we're adapting to the condition. And I see further adaptation, but I can't tell you exactly what that'll be.
Do you know, Steve, is any of your equipment involved in any of the vaccine trials? And
Mostly in the clinical testing areas at this point. So, like I said, if you're, you're a laboratory, a medical technologist, and you're responsible for inbound receipt of hundreds of, student samples per week, those get processed on robotic test platforms. And those robotic platforms might be as big as 2 desks wide, and then our hoods are going around them. So we're really helping the COVID testing fighter, if you will, relative to the actual request for putting our instrumentation around filling lines and vaccines. That's not typically something we do anyway. We're more in the non-sterile and tablet and capsule field, but I will say the internet is throwing many queries at us, and many of our technical partners, manufacturing, other tool makers, if you will, are calling us saying, well, you haven't done this before, but can you? So the pandemic is a force multiplier on some of the equipment we've produced, and we're getting questions out of our normal product range every week. It's an exciting time.
Ted, you have thoughts on how COVID is affecting your business?
Well, unlike Steve, we are not very good at the Zoom meetings. We have not had to do any. This is actually my second time.
Wow, lucky.
Looks like I need to get a camera. But I'm hoping this all does go back to normal and won't have to do this in the near future. But fortunately, we have not really been affected by COVID. We are considered an essential manufacturer because we are a government supplier. All our employees continued to work. We didn't miss a single day. I think the only issues we've seen with COVID is some of our customers having a difficult time paying on time, but we've worked with them and they've all eventually have paid. I think COVID has strangled some of the cash flow at some of our customers, but again, we work with them and it all is working out just fine. We have manufactured throughout the whole epidemic. We will continue to do so. Supplies have taken a little longer than normal. Freight times a little longer than normal, but nothing that has hurt us. So I'm grateful for that. Other than this awkward Zoom meeting type thing, I think we're just handling it as usual.
Good. Well, before we end this, just wanted to give everybody a chance if anybody else has a question or any other comments here. We will make this available, this recording available on our YouTube channel by early next week, so others can see it also who couldn't participate. Well, thank you again, and congratulations to both of you and all the other made winners. And Rick and Kendra, thank you again to Excite Credit Union for being the sponsor of this program.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Rob. Thank you for the opportunity.
All right. Well, if you're still in Umbrella, our Expo platform, you can still go visit Excite and the other sponsors and exhibitors until 5 o'clock. And also we can still set up meetings, have one-on-one video meetings until then also. So thank you all again for being with us.